We are still fighting over the composition of tuna at Subway. We did this story months ago when two people filed a class action lawsuit against the company saying its tuna sandwich contained no tuna at all. Now we have a fresh report from the New York Times. The samples it sent to an unnamed lab contained no detectable tuna DNA. The lab says it is possible the tuna is so processed that there's nothing left for its tests to pick up. Subway, of course, stands by its tuna, saying it is skipjack and yellowfin tuna. Lisa Guerrero of Monday Night Football's past did a report for Inside Edition over the winter, and their Subway samples did contain some actual tuna. And the plaintiffs in that original lawsuit have backed off their first claims a little bit. The suit now amended to challenge Subway's claim of, quote, 100% sustainably caught skipjack and yellowfin tuna. I think this was my advice back with the original story. Get something other than tuna at any of these places. If you want tuna, go to the store and buy a can, get some mayo, maybe some celery, some relish, and make it yourself, or go to an actual deli. But no matter tuna or not, it's just not a thing you should be getting from a fast food place.
It is true. Fast food fish is always taking your life in your own hands unless it's deep fried, and even then you might worry about it. But here's the thing. If they are advertising it as tuna, it really should be tuna. They could call it a fish sandwich. They could call it fish on wheat or whatever, but they shouldn't call it tuna if it's not tuna. Now we actually have a Subway sandwich artist that happens to be employed by CBS Sports Radio and the DA show. From a New York Times article, they purchased 5 different footlongs, or perhaps they purchased 10 different 6-inchers of tuna. But either way, they went to multiple locations, got the tuna, then sent it to a lab for testing. And in these cases, they could not verify, the scientists could not verify that it was actually tuna. They said either it was so processed, there's no identifiable fish that you can bring out of it, or it wasn't tuna. Which brings the question, is it fish? Okay, so let me read to you a quote from a sandwich artist in this Times article. This is from a sandwich artist, actually manager in California, named Sage. She's been a Subway manager for 3 years. The tuna comes in a case, and inside the case there are 6 aluminum pouches, and it's just like a pressed, vacuum-sealed slab of tuna. It's flaky and clearly soaked in water. It's like a brine, so it's just soaked in salt water, and it's just flaky tuna. We just spread it apart with our hands, and then mix it with mayo. She said it has basically a 3-day counter life, about 72 hours, in which case we all agree, quote, all of us that work there, it gets kind of gross. Now, she believed that it is tuna because it wouldn't make sense to mislabel it because tuna is so cheap anyway. But Jen, a former Subway sandwich artist who worked at a Subway in Iowa last year, said that there's no incentive to replace the tuna with anything else. She said, I dealt with tuna all of the time. The ingredients are right on the package. Tuna is relatively cheap meat. There's no point in making a replacement to tuna to make it cheaper. And I personally know that I've got a really weak stomach to fish, which is how we know the tuna is real. The last time I ate it, I puked my guts out. So here is a sandwich artist saying, I know it's tuna because I ate our sandwich and I puked from it. If that's not a ringing endorsement of eating the tuna at Subway, I don't know what is. Mraz, you have been there, done that. Do these stories match up with your experience?
Absolutely, and she's so right about the aluminum pouches. And DA, I am on record several times on the DA show of telling everybody I don't eat tuna fish because of the years hard time I spent as a sandwich artist. The way you have to break it up, the smell of that brine, the glooping of the mayo when it hits. Basically, it's a half pouch of mayo for 1 pouch of tuna, 2 pouches, obviously, of tuna for 1 pouch of mayo. It gloops in there, and you have to break apart the tuna, and you just, and then you get the ice cream scooper, and it's, you got to put the scoops on there. Nothing ever smells right, but I can tell you, because I questioned myself how grossed out I was by the tuna in all my years, Everybody knew when I walked in that was the job I least wanted to do, was be on tuna prep. I would rather chop every vegetable in the world over doing it, but sometimes you just have to do it when I was a manager and high up in that kind of chain of restaurant. Here's the deal. They go through tuna bids. It's kind of like the combine being through the bidding war. The meats, the vegetables, they all will come in the Subway disguised boxes, but in the fine print, you see the real company that has won the bid to win that. And a lot of times the tuna comes from the same companies on the same cans you're grabbing off the shelves at themselves, but you're never going to question the tuna you're making at home that you bought at the supermarket. You're, of course, going to question the tuna that tastes a little funky because it's probably left out on the line a couple days too long, and then you're going to find there's no DNA. This, to me, I think is a scandal that is ready to blow the lid off anything. If there is no DNA in Subway tuna that shows you it's tuna, you will soon find out that same tuna you're buying from those reputable brands in the supermarket, I have a feeling you may not find tuna DNA in those as well, because it's all coming from the same place, the same cheap tuna. I promise you that. There is about to be a big tuna scandal in this country.
Okay, so you're saying it's absolutely fish that we're eating at Subways, but it's probably not tuna. It's probably a different fish mislabeled as tuna that a Star-Kissed or a Chicken of the Sea also mislabels.
Right. Now, everybody's saying tuna's cheap, cheap, cheap. I'm sure there's probably another fish even cheaper. The point is, maybe there's some tuna mixed in with some other parts of a fish. You know how a hash brown's mixed in bad cuts of a potato, something like that. I'm not a tuna expert. I'm not pretending to be a tuna expert. What I am telling you is the tuna at Subway is no different than the cans of tuna you buy in the store. So if this is where they're getting the bad rep, and it's getting tested, I'm telling you right now, don't assume this is just on the sandwich industry. It's in the supermarket industry as well, in these big companies. There's a tuna scandal going on in this country.
But you're convinced it is fish.
It has to be. It smells like fish. Unless they somehow have like a potpourri version of fish smell they put on there. I mean, there's no mistaking that smell. As they put that vacuum seed foil pouch and the brine comes out, I mean, if that's not fish, I don't know what fish is.
But it could be like a particle board of fish where they've taken all these fish parts from all these types of fishes, cheap fishes, parts of fishes, ground them all up and made them into like one slab, and then sent it to you guys, and you have to like overcompensate with tons of mayo.
Yes, and by the way, this isn't the first time that Subway has gotten in hot water with this. I could tell you because it's happened during my era of working there. There was a crab meat sub as well, less popular than the tuna. And a similar kind of problem arose where people questioned the crab meat. Subway was forced to change the name on the menu from crab meat to seafood salad because, as it turns out, we all know what crab meat tastes like, and it wasn't real crab meat. It was some kind of artificial combination of seafood stuff. So this is not the first time in the sea that Subway's been backed into a corner. I lived it the first time with crab meat becoming seafood salad, and you wonder the fallout here from the tuna fish.
I actually really like tuna fish sandwiches, but only when I make them. I cannot go anywhere and trust the tuna there, even at really nice restaurants. Well, no really nice restaurant has a tuna fish sandwich, but you know, sometimes you go out and like a really good burger place will have like, you know, what seafood place, and I'm just like, nah, I'll make my own tuna fish sandwich. Bogues, are you a tuna guy?
Love tuna, and I guess I'm more dangerous than you because delis, diners, I mean, if I can see it and look at it and it passes the eye check, then I'm going to eat it. So, but never Subway, Blimpies, Quiznos like that. And like, you buried the lead to a certain extent in here. Whatever quote you read that I saw too, that this thing has a 72-hour shelf life.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. No meat/mayo combination should be out in the open air for 3 days and given to other humans. So that's a problem in and of itself. Whether it's tuna or not, it shouldn't last that long. That's why I would never eat that.